All right, we're back in the next one. And here is the new Discord. We'll get it all, updated and stuff, but, yeah. Here we go. We're gonna hide that. Hi. Cool. Now we are going to read this one. Okay. Bereshit, Genesis chapter 31. And he heard the words of Laban's sons, saying, Jacob has taken all that belonged to our father. Second. Has taken all that belonged to our father, and from what belonged to our father, he has amassed this entire fortune. Okay, sorry, there's a little bit of a difficulty here. And Jacob saw Laban's countenance, that he was not disposed toward him, as yesterday and the day before. And the Lord said to Jacob, Return to the land of your forefathers and to your birthplace, and I will be with you. So Jacob sent and called Rachel and Leah to the field to his flocks. And he said to them, I see your father's countenance, that he is not disposed toward me yesterday and the day before, but the God of my father was with me. And you know that with all my might I served your father. But your father mocked me and changed my wages 10 times, but God did not permit him to harm me. If he would say thus, Speckled ones shall be your wages, all the animals would bear speckled ones. And if he would say thus, Ringed ones shall be your wages, all the animals would bear ringed ones. Thus God separated your father's livestock and gave it to me. And it came to pass at the time the animals came into heat, that I lifted my eyes and saw in a dream, and behold, the goats that mounted the animals were ringed, speckled, and striped. And an angel of God said to me in a dream, Jacob, and said, Here I am. And there it is, that Hineni is still here. It's super cool. And he said, Now lift your eyes and see all the he goats mounting the animals are ringed, speckled, and striped, for I have seen all that Laban is doing to you. There's a lot of politics in here. I am the God of Bethel, where you anointed a monument, where you pronounced to me a vow. Now arise, go forth from this land and return to the land of your birth. And Rachel and Leah replied and said to him, Do we still have a share or an inheritance in our father's house? Are we not considered by him as strangers? For he sold us and also consumed our money. Wow. Ooh, there's a lot of thoughts about that. But all the wealth that God separated from our father is ours and our children's. So now all that God said to you, do. So Jacob rose, and he lifted up his sons and his wives upon the camels, and he led all his livestock and all his possessions that he had acquired, the purchase of his acquisition, which he had acquired in Padan Aram, to come to Isaac his father, to the land of Canaan. Now Laban had gone to shear his sheep, and Rachel stole her father's teraphim, and Jacob concealed from Laban the Aramean by not telling him that he was fleeing. So he and all that were his fled, and he arose and crossed the river, and he directed his face toward Mount Gilead. On the third day, Laban was informed that Jacob had fled. So he took his kinsman with him and pursued him 7 days' journey, and he overtook him at Mount Gilead. And God came to Laban the Aramean in a dream of the night, and he said to him, "Beware lest you speak with Jacob either good or evil." And Laban overtook Jacob, and Jacob pitched his tent on the mountain, and Laban pitched with his kinsmen on Mount Gilead. And Laban said to Jacob, "What have you done that you concealed from me and led away my daughters like prisoners of war? Why have you fled secretly and concealed from me and not told me? I would have sent you away with joy and with songs and with drum and with harp. And you did not allow me to kiss my sons and daughters. Now you have acted foolishly. I have the power to inflict harm upon you. But the God of your father spoke to me last night, saying, Beware of speaking with Jacob either good or bad. But now you have gone away, for you longed for your father's house. Why have you stolen my gods?" And Jacob replied, and he said to Laban, "Because I was afraid, because I said, Lest you steal your daughters from me. The one whom you find your gods shall not live in the presence of our brothers. Recognize for yourself what is with me, and take for yourself." For Jacob did not know what Rachel had stolen them. So Laban entered Jacob's tent and Leah's tent and the tent of the two handmaids, and he did not come out of Leah's tent, and he entered Rachel's tent. But Rachel had taken the teraphim and placed them inside the camel's saddle and sat upon them. So Laban felt about the entire tent and did not find. And she said to her father, "Let my lord not be annoyed, for I cannot rise before you. For now the way of woman is upon me." So he searched, but did not find the teraphim. What is a teraphim? We're going to have to look that up. And Jacob was annoyed, and he quarreled with Laban. And he said to Laban, "What is my transgression? What is my sin that you have pursued me? For you have felt about all my things. What have you found all the utensils of your house? Put in here in the presence of my kinsmen and your kinsmen, and let them decide between the two of us. Already 20 years have I been with you, and your ewes and she-goats have not aborted, neither have I eaten the rams of your flocks. I have not brought home to you anything torn. I would suffer its loss from my hand. You would demand it. What was stolen by day and what was stolen at night? Wow, that is rough. It's like the women are seen as property. It's like really intense. So now come, let us form a covenant, you and I, and may he be a witness between me and you. So Jacob took a stone and set it up as a monument. And Jacob said to his kinsmen, "Gather stones." And they took stones and made a pile, and they ate there by the pile. And Laban called it Yegar Sahadutha. Okay. Sahadutha. But Jacob called it Gal Ed. And Laban said, "This pile is a witness between me and you today." Therefore, he called it Gal Ed. And Mizpah. Because he said, "May the Lord look between me and you, where we are hidden from each other. If you afflict my daughters, or if you take my wives in addition to my daughters, when no one is with us, behold, God is a witness between me and you." And Laban said to Jacob, "Behold this pile, and behold this monument, which I have cast between me and you. This pile is a witness, and this monument is a witness, and I will not pass this pile to you, and that you shall not pass this pile and the monument to me to harm. May the God of Abraham and the God of Nahor judge between us, the God of their father." And Jacob swore by the fear of his father Isaac. And Jacob slaughtered a slaughtering on the mountain, and he invited his friends to eat a meal, and they ate bread and lodged on the mountain. Whew. Yes, that's correct. So this is really interesting because here it is. Um, it's interesting because what it shows is that we're dealing with cultures that had indigenous religion. It's interesting because I think about like ancient cultures like in Europe and you know the Americas, like most people believed in religions that had multiple deities, and they would have like these effigies, these small little um like statues and idols that they would worship. This seems to be kind of um it's connected to Durkheim's work where he talks about totemism. Um, people people had a lot of there was a lot of they use the word pagan, but I would say like indigenous religions, and they seem to be very similar into this worship of whatever the indigenous deities are. Um, like Babylonian traditions, really quite interesting too. Maybe we should do a series, like an episode talking about that because I've studied ancient mythologies and ancient indigenous religions. So it is strange because the teraphim, it's like what is this thing, and what it is that this it's interesting because he's a part of the same family, because what we've learned is that Jacob is cousins with his wives. I know it sounds really strange to say nowadays, but that is what it is. Like, this is his uncle, so his uncle has other deities, so they don't even have the same religion that they're sharing, which I think is kind of interesting. But in the narrative, the religion, the god, you know, God appears in front of Laban, and that affects him. A lot of the what we've been reading is about property rights and who gets to own the property, and it is unfortunate. It looks like women are a part of this narrative of the property, and I don't know. Like for me, it's hard as a man reading it because I'm like, man, these women are suffering greatly. Like the last chapter we read, they're like these, it's hard because it's such a human thing. Can you imagine being put into this situation where you don't really even have the choice of who you choose to marry? Like even in this case, Laban is pretty bad dude. Like he wants to marry one woman. Like Jacob is interested in one woman. He wants to marry Rachel. He's not interested in the other women, but he's kind of forced into this scheme that he has to get with these other women. He didn't want to be with the handmaid. It's like because the handmaids are put in because it's a competition between the two sisters on producing the most children. So like the children aren't even a value of their own humanity. They're being used as a source to compete. And I don't know, it's like really it's interesting that that was brought up in the debate, but it's like a very tragic narrative. It's not this harrowing narrative of positivity. This narrative of polygamy is a very tragic one where it's like the protagonist doesn't even want to be polygamous, you know? He's not even interested in polygamy. He has interest in this one woman, and because his uncle is a kind of a wicked dude who's like trying to exploit him. And I think that's another motif that we've seen. There's a lot of exploitation and taking advantage and using people, and it's like it's it's powerful because it really shows the difficulty of our own humanity. Like people are like, oh, this is a long time ago. But this stuff is kind of real for us now. We're affected by these things now, if you know what I mean. We are affected by these narratives and stories now. And it's hard. It's hard. It's definitely a hard situation to deal with. And it's tragic and it's painful and it's real. So I don't know. It's hard when people are like, I don't like this because it says things that I don't like. I think it reflects our humanity. Like people are like, oh, that's so barbaric. I'm like, this stuff. I do social work too. I'm a social worker and a chaplain. I do a lot of work where I help other people. There's narratives even worse than what we've seen here. So I think the difficulty and trauma that we see is kind of necessary because it really reflects humanity. It reflects our greed. It reflects that we will do certain things to get ahead and to exploit for power, and it warns against it. It shows that these things are not good and we shouldn't strive for these things. So I think our journey so far it's been a hard one, but it's been a very profound one. That's what I feel so far. Do you have any feelings on that? And to remind you, this is the Discord. So if you haven't joined, please join. We can have further discussions. We can stream. We can do all of that. So, yeah. Yeah, that it's true. That's definitely true. Okay, I think that this is there wasn't a lot of diversity, and um I did a huge paper. You can read it. It's on Shamgar Benanath. We're gonna at some point read Judges and go through that. He's a very powerful character. Maybe we'll do that in one of the readings where I can read about Shamgar and I can read my paper. Um, but Shamgar Benanath is a judge that appears in has one paragraph that is about him in the text, and he lives in a time of banditry. And there's another paragraph that describes the time he lived in, but there's only one paragraph that's directly discussing him. Um, these people were living in very difficult times, and I think you have to grant that. Um, I think that it's hard to have compassion because people live in different realities than we do, but that's okay. Like, we have to be aware of that. So, yeah, we have much more options and we can, and I think for women, I think there's so much that women have now that I don't think people really realize. Like, in the text, you can tell that this is where women really do not have the rights that we have now. Um, like, women can work, women can choose their spouse. They're not kind of used as payment for wages, because that's literally what these sisters are. They're cousins, and they're payments of wages for their cousin. Um, I don't know, that it's disturbing. It's a very disturbing thing to consider that you live a life and your father uses you as a payment for work, and you're worth 7 years of work. Your body, your reproductive capacity, all of that. I don't know, as a guy, I don't like I could never do that to a woman. Like, I wouldn't be able to do that. So, you know, it just seems deeply, deeply problematic. You know, yeah, there's definitely an extremeness that's there, and it's just a very different kind of worldview, um, and different kind of reality that people had, and I think it's a lesson not to go into that space. So, thank you very much for joining with me today. We had a bit of a longer stream because I think we kind of needed to do a little commentary on both. It's difficult, but we're doing good. All right, we're going to see you in the next.